players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue, the other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Yay! Hello, hello, hello. It's the USA Hour here on the Schnitzel Boys. On Monday night, we just did the Bundesliga preview. Now we gotta get the rest of MLS little bit of season left preview going.
Final stretch, I call it.
Final stretch. The essential 9.
Yeah, 9 to 16 rounds, depending on how well your team does, right? How many playoff games will be if you win? Was it 2 or 3 for starters?
4 or 5. No, 4. Oh, yeah, right.
Total?
There's a whole... no, more. Right, you're right.
Yeah, there's 2 out of 3 for round 1, right?
I guess, yeah, depending.
Or a 3-game round 1, no matter what. Or am I wrong?
No, if you win the first 2, it's done.
Oh, so it's 2 or 3.
Best of 3. Gotta win 2.
And then after that's one and done's, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. So let's say you take 3 games and then...
3, it's like 6 max.
6 more.
5
so
or 6. 5 or 6 to win it.
So we've got 9 to 15 rounds left, depending on how well your team does. So we were just looking at the Bundesliga preview, and Eintracht Frankfurt with 12 players in, 12 players out, and blah, 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 blah. New York Red Bulls had 1 player out and 1 player in. That's what the summer transfer looks like for MLS clubs. All right. Did you do a lot of business? Did NYCFC do a lot of business over the summer?
Thales Magno went on loan to Corinthians, scored in his first 2 games, embarrassing Nick Cushing.
All right. Is that it? You just got rid of Thales? You didn't bring anyone in?
Not so far, no.
The summer window tends to be a little quieter in MLS. But over the summer, MLS had really big news, the really big tournament. Mexico paused, USA paused for the mighty, the epic. People really care about this tournament. Leagues Cup! Yeah!
Whoa, 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 whoa! Well, I cared a lot about it until Saturday night.
That's right. We had 2 Leagues Cup games in their last broadcast.
And I saw 1 live and 1 on television.
We beat the big team, and then I guess we played 2 big teams.
We played 2 big teams, and we beat one of them, and then we lost in penalties to the other one.
The
Sadness.
Columbus Crew.
That Tigres game was fun, though. I mean, I gotta say, Red Bull Arena was, not sold out, obviously, but pretty well packed, and the Tigres fans were outnumbering us for sure. I sat next to a fan. Well, he said he was gushing initially about Tigres. He's like, "This is a good team." He was Mexican. "This is a good team. You're playing a good team. They're going to beat you." Blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, that could very well be." And by the end of it, he informed me that he was actually a Chivas fan, that he didn't actually care about Tigres at all. So you could see how the atmosphere changed over the course of that game. We had it was reminiscent. I was remembering the COVID game, right? The last game in America before COVID when we played Tigres. And that was the game where clearly Tigres seemed like the better team, but we were hanging tough. And that's what the first half was like. Tigres seemed like they were better than us, but we were competitive, and we conceded a relatively early goal, but then came right back, and Maxi Morales tied it up. But then in the second half, we were legit better. I think we played great defense. Christian McFarland had a breakout game at left back, future Man City player. He was extremely good. Tavon Gray, not quite as convincing, but still battling on the other side. And then Diego Lainez and Andre Pierre Gignac came off the bench, causing me to definitely worry, but did nothing. We defended them well, and we had chances to put this game away.
Now why didn't
earlier.
they start? Why didn't Andre Pierre-Gignac and Diego Lainez start?
I
do you
mean,
think?
Gignac is 38 years old at this point.
Is he really 38?
I believe that's true.
That is pretty old. That is pretty old.
And I mean, these games were coming fast and furious. You know, these Leagues Cup knockout games are every 3 days, so I think they had to. I mean, I don't know if they had to, but they decided to rotate some of their front line. And but even when those people came,
Are we about to lose you again, my friend? Is it me or is it you? Who did we lose? I think here it's still counting for me. We're frozen. Is he gone or am I gone? I don't even know at this point.
off. Wait, I'm.
Yeah, we just lost him. I don't know. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. We just lost Bjorn. So NYCFC. Are you there? Are you back?
Yeah.
You were frozen for the last 3 minutes.
I know. I could still hear you for a while, so I was yakking away, but.
Who knows? I don't want. Let's keep it a little bridge because a lot of stuff we want to get through today. So NYCFC had a good game against Tigres, but then you had a typical 1-1 hold on to the Columbus Crew was the better team that won, and it was in Columbus, right? Yes. No Mexican teams made it past the quarters. Tigres, Club America were eliminated by Colorado, and Mazatlan were eliminated. Now, Bjorn, how serious do you think the Mexican clubs took the tournament this summer?
I don't know. You were thinking not so much because the Tigres didn't start their best 11. I don't know. I mean, it definitely.
I generally don't know. I'm not an expert on the Mexican
I don't
league
either. I mean, we have four. They have a. It's kind of wild that there's 3 Champions Cup spots on the line for this tournament where.
That's true. Where it's
and
it's
all 3
MLS
are
right now.
All 3 are going to go to MLS, and I think that's not. Yeah, there's some serious flaws in the format of this tournament. Let's just say.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take Colorado Rapids winning the CONCACAF Champions League. I'm all about it. Or the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But the semifinalists are LAFC versus Colorado. Is that what it was? And then Columbus versus the other one. Philadelphia. You know, Columbus and LAFC are the 2 big teams still, just like they were last year. It could be an LAFC Columbus final. And, I'd probably rooting for Columbus. There you go. And that is Leagues Cup. But you were eliminated at exactly the right time because you guys were playing week to week. Now you have a full week to MLS begins. So what I love about Leagues Cup is that when the final stretch begins, the New York Red Bulls has, 300, 450 less minutes on their legs compared to the other teams we're playing against now moving forward. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, we look gassed. The last half an hour against Columbus, our team just looked spent. We also started the exact same team from Tigres to Columbus. There were no changes, and those guys looked pooped. So, yeah, hopefully a week will be enough, and we'll take it all out on Chicago, the mighty Chicago Fire. Now Shaqiri-less Chicago Fire on Saturday at Citi Field, I believe, we're playing.
Cool. Yeah, and then the New York Red Bulls were off, and another typical Red Bull summer where it's like, we need a number 9, and it's just crickets. We signed a number 6, an Obscurio from Everton, who failed the physical, so that deal got canceled. So last minute, they signed a Uruguayan on loan from Grêmio, and he looks really great. It looks like a pretty good signing. We're excited to replace the outgoing Frankie Amaya. As far as number 9 replacement go, apparently they offered it to a young Polish striker in the 2nd division. And as you know, Bjorn, Polish 2nd division strikers always rip it up in MLS. That's just the place to be. Mm-hmm. Name your top 5 Polish 2nd division players who's ripped it up in MLS. Name. What do you think?
Wacław Szybylski.
Was he from the 2nd division? Who is that?
Vladimir. No, I'm just making up names. I don't think there's.
Karol Swiderski was great, but he was a star DP, top flight guy. Anyway, I'm being a little facetious here. I judge our signings. Some are okay, but they're very hit or miss. And when some youngster from the Polish second division who can't even score there is going to be our number 9, I'm just like, what is he going to do against Sergio Busquets? You know what I mean? But anyway, he turned us down. Everything was good. The clubs agreed on a fee. They offered him a contract, and he said no thank you to MLS. He was not interested. He turned us down. So that leaves us with no number 9s that we needed and wanted. And there you go. So we have our one edition of Uruguay International from Gremio, so that's fun. And like I said, we're rested. Emil Forsberg, I believe, is still injured. But I don't know. I'm curious going in this final 9. Very curious how it'll go. Where, if Lewis Morgan isn't scoring goals, I just flat out don't know where our goals are coming from, especially with an injured Emil Forsberg.
Well, you're going to Charlotte on Saturday.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Charlotte bringing in their new Tim Ream, former New York Rebel Tim Ream. The brand new, shiny new 37-year-old, 37-year-old Tim Ream. He's been playing pretty rock solid. But there you go. So we got the final stretch. Now, both New York teams are in an interesting spot because I would say, I think both of us are doing better this year than last year. We're still up for having a home playoff game and stuff like that. However, we're not in the elite crew. If right now you said, Stefan, who's going to MLS Cup? I'm going to say it's going to be, from the East, it's going to either be Columbus Crew or Inter Miami, is what I would say. Maybe a Cincinnati, too. But that's really it, right? Out of those 3, who in the East is going to win the MLS Cup this year, do you think?
Yeah, it depends on Messi's ankle, a lot of it, right?
Right. And they're not, Messi just announced he will not be playing for Argentina in September because of his ankle.
Yeah, and because Tati Castellanos is coming.
Oh, that's why they benched him? Wasn't the ankles because of the addition of Tati?
That's right.
And MLS refuses to release any sort of timeline because they don't want to affect their ticket sales. So with Messi, it's week to week. It'll be week to week for a few months, I think.
Yeah. Among my season ticket holding friends of NYCFC, because ours is coming up, I think September 12th. So people are trying to game whether or not to sell their tickets and when. And
sell them.
I don't know.
He's not going to be at the September 12th game. If he's not at the September Argentina finals, do you think he's going to be in the September 12th NYCFC game?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm curious if we'll see him for the rest of the season. I mean, They're not giving us an update, which is weird. That's unheard of, right?
That was a swollen ankle, but usually a couple months is enough to deal with that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there you go. MLS is coming up. Leagues Cup is an all MLS affair. We get 3 Champions Cup spots. So that's positive news. But overall, the sophomore season of the Leagues Cup was overshadowed by the Open Cup versus Leagues Cup debate and this weird soccer war we're in. And I'd say the Leagues Cup did not cover themselves in glory. Last summer, very much it was the Messi coming out party, so it was a big party. But, we've had Leagues Cups in the past. We had the Super League in the past, and they all fizzled out. And nothing is indicating that Leagues Cup is going to be any different to me. I don't think so.
Yeah, the format is flawed. And the timing and everything about it is still up for debate, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's just weird because it's these MLS teams are playing, but it's not for the MLS Cup right now. So if I'm a fan of an LAFC or a Columbus, I'm just like, what? It's like we need to get ready for the MLS Cup. That's what we care about, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's good that now you're fighting for a Champions Cup slot. Yeah, there you go. Okay,
that would have been exciting. That's what made the Columbus game a big game for us. That if you make it to the semis, you have a 3 out of 4 chance to get a Champions Cup spot. So that's big.
Is there going to be a third place game then? Yeah, right. For that spot. All right. Okay. Do you have anything MLS to talk about, or is it time to talk U.S. men's national team?
Please.
All right. Do you have any? Anyway. MLS, wait and see. With Chicago, Shaqiri, George Heitz is leaving. That's the football director who we forgot to name last week. He was apparently a big failure, and he's going off to Switzerland or whatever. So Chicago Fire on another rebuild, like usual. But anywho, the big news with U.S. soccer is verbally agreed to. We landed Mauricio Pochettino.
You made it happen, man. You take all the credit.
I willed it. I just want to say I'm proud of us. Every coach that got close to the job was in our preview list. So we had a good analysis done.
Every coach that is alive and not employed was in our list.
We have to get into that. We have 34, 35 names, For instance, like with Germany, let's say Julian Nagelsmann steps down after the World Cup, which he announces. I mean, I imagine the debate will be, should it be Jurgen Klopp or Sebastian Hoeneß, right? So it's just two guys. When it comes to Germany, it's always 2 or 3 guys at most, right? But when it comes to USA, it's what type of soccer, what type of thing, should it be a European coach, South American coach, blah, blah. But we got ourselves the first Latino national team coach in U.S. soccer history, which is interesting. And he is Argentinian, but he's European-based. And apparently he will be based in Europe during the job, which is fine. I don't know.
What do you think about that? Is that fine?
I know Klinsmann got a lot of guff because he was based in California when he coached Germany, and when he coached Korea, he was also based in California, and that was always a big thing with him. All of our players are based in Europe. However, the World Cup is in the United States. I always thought it made sense to have some sort of national training camp residency somewhere in Europe so European guys could meet there during the international breaks and play friendlies against European teams so they don't have to fly across the Atlantic all the time. But that's a whole other debate because our friendly windows are not the same as the European friendly window. They're playing Nations League games. So, should he live in Atlanta? Sure. But I mean, it's probably going to be a thing where he's in Europe watching the players. Then whenever it's time for USA camps and USA time, he flies into Atlanta and he flies back and forth 20 times a year or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. As long as it doesn't affect his coaching, then it's fine by me, I guess is my opinion. It's a long-winded way of saying that. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I question. I mean, there are a lot of cultural peculiarities about U.S. soccer, and I don't think he's going to pick those up. And I don't know, that may not matter, but I don't know. It's definitely a question mark, I would say.
I mean, if that's a concession, I'm ecstatic we got a guy like him. So if it needs to be 1 or 2 concessions like that, I'm fine with that, I think. But the big question mark is, okay, now we got the big guy, even though we don't. It hasn't been pen to paper. Apparently him and Chelsea still have to negotiate it out first.
Work out the Chelsea settlement, yeah.
So it's still verbal, and what that means to me is that Bayern München or Manchester United fire their coach this weekend, and they hire him right away. Because they're just like, hurry, let's grab the last good replacement left before he goes off to the U.S. So there is a slight chance that this won't happen. It's the negativity coming out. But let's pretend he's committed, he's there, it's verbal, he'll sign the contract, and blah. Great, now we have a top-level European coach. There's no excuses. And then the big talk, which I agree with, is failures moving forward, the players will be under much more scrutiny. Because now you can't blame the coach quality anymore. He's a top-level coach, and he's a specialist at doing more with less. That's why I think he's such a great fit. Because it's not his time at PSG I care about, or Chelsea. I care less about that. It's his time at Southampton, Tottenham, and Espanyol I care about, especially Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham made a Champions League final and a second-place finish under him. When's Tottenham ever going to do that again, do you think?
Well, I don't know. Ange is a good coach. We'll see.
I mean, I don't predict that's going to happen anytime soon. Ange is a good coach. But Tottenham making second in the league and second in the Champions League, I mean, that is punching above your weight.
No, that's true. Yeah, that was a big season for them.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm looking forward to. Working with guys like Son and things like that. I don't care about how well he worked with Neymar. There are no Neymars in the U.S. team. So the coaching situation is pretty interesting, or pretty positive. Yes, he's never coached a national team. Yes, there's a limited amount of appointments available. That's all a thing. But he's very smart. I think he should get it done. The next thing is this dang old player pool we keep talking about. How is he going to work with the American
generation? The golden generation. That Greg Berhalter has been holding back is now going to be unleashed.
Did you see that great interview with Fabrizio Romano where they asked who Greg is linked to? And Fabrizio's like, I'm going to be honest with you. He's linked to nothing and nobody.
The men in Blazers have it out for Greg. I don't understand. Those guys, I'm not sure.
I think anybody who knows soccer has it out for Greg. Because Greg was bad. Again, worst U.S. coach in history. At least modern history. And I have the numbers to prove it. But that's neither here nor there. Will Greg ever coach again? I don't know. I know I would never hire him. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure he'll land an MLS second. I'm sure he'll land a USL job in 2 or 3 years or something like that. We'll see. But it's not about Greg. This is about Mauricio Pochettino. Pulisic playing center in the 10. You know, some players are doing fine. Weston McKennie, despite Juventus trying to get rid of him again, like a cockroach, he refuses to leave, and they just announced he is now part of the squad and part of their plans. Weston McKennie once again survived a frozen-out summer. But there's a little bit of a list, because I do believe there's an American bias in Europe. And I think the only reason I believe that is because seemingly the first thing any new coach does at a club with an American, first thing they do is they announce that the American is, quote-unquote, not in their plans. It's like the first thing they all do.
And
It's
they
like
do this because they're American?
Well, yes. I'll say that. Because it's not a Brazilian. I mean, how many Brazilians and Argentinians are frozen out of people's plans? You know, it's just. I mean, Luca De La Torre, first thing, frozen out of plans. Tanner Tessman, we don't need Tanner Tessman. Tanner Tessman spent the whole season as a key figure. Tanner Tessman brought Venezia from the Serie B to the Serie A. Tanner Tessman was then linked with Inter Milan, linked with a bigger club, and because it fell through, now he's out of their plans. He's frozen out. It's like, really, you can't use Tanner.
It seems like they were upset that he was linked to so many clubs.
It's a business. You're not. What is that? I'm upset. You want to go to a new club? Wow. We family. You can't. You know what I'm talking about? Welcome to the soccer business. Okay, Inter Milan was interested in him. Fiorentina was interested in him. It all fell through because he had a terrible agent or whatever. I don't know who to blame. But he's still on your roster, and he's a key figure for you. So you play him. But now he's in this weird frozen out thing. Luca De La Torre, frozen out. Matt Turner, third choice at Nottingham Forest, not even on the bench. Gio Reyna, frozen out at BVB? Oh, absolutely. Weston McKennie did survive. And the other guy I had on the list here was Ricardo Pepi. Is it time for Ricardo Pepi to find a new club? I mean, he's coming off the bench scoring goals, but is it time for him to find a new club? Do you think? Well, who knows? Ricardo Pepi, if he needs to find himself a new club, I would support that. But to me, there's a list of emergency, holy shit transfers, and it's in this order. Matt Turner, number 1. Gio Reyna, number 2. Luca De La Torre, number 3. I guess Tanner Tessman, number 4. And you know, the transfer window's closing in a week, and the 4 of them need something. You know, Matt Turner, even if it means... There's been a lot of linkage to MLS. Like Josh Sargent was apparently going to come to MLS. Weston McKennie was linked to Cincinnati. Gio Reyna was linked to Atlanta. Matt Turner is linked to a return. You know, a lot of these guys are linked to a return. And if it's their only option, I mean, especially for someone like Matt Turner, I say take it, right? I mean, you got to play.
But then Mo Pochettino is never going to see him.
True. But for Matt Turner, like, he needs to go, right? He can't be third choice goalkeeper at Nottingham Forest.
He cannot be. No, that's no good.
I mean, even if it's the championship. Did you see what
their
Ethan Horvath did over
their goalie
the
did not have... Oh, Ethan Horvath is not doing well either. He had... the Forest goalie didn't do well either this weekend, and I even thought that Matt Turner deserved another look, but he's apparently third string currently.
Yeah, he's not even on the bench, so I don't know. And Gio Reyna, he needs to go to France or Italy or something. He needs to go, or Gladbach or something. He needs to go where he'll play. He's getting on, and you know, he's not 19, he's not 18 anymore. So like, he needs to be scrap minutes isn't going to work for him. So he needs to move on. And I just see no news about that. I mean, you know, yeah. And then if Tanner Tessman's being frozen out, that's a key Tyler Adams replacement, which is very important for us because who knows if Tyler Adams will ever play soccer again. At this point, Mr. Long-term injury layoff. So, you know, if you look at a guy like Tanner Tessman or me, you know, and you think to yourself, we do need a guy like him healthy. I mean, Johnny Cardozo, thankfully, is doing okay. And then Tanner Tessman. And then there you go. If Tyler Adams is never going to be healthy, it's just the next step is these guys need better agents. They need to solve their situation. Something needs to happen with these guys. It's a long list of guys that need to help. John Brooks, is he going to land at a club anywhere, or is he done with? Who knows?
Well, he's never going to play for the national team again.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows? Maybe John Brooks signs with Bochum, and he does really, really well for Bochum, and he becomes like Bochum Defender of the Year. You know, why Putsch would probably bring him in the fold, don't you think? At that point, maybe.
Those are big ifs at this point.
Mark McKenzie was linked to the Bundesliga, but he ended up in France, which I thought was a good move because I think Mark McKenzie from Genk to the Bundesliga would probably have been a little bit too big of a jump for him. But he landed himself in Toulouse. So, yeah, there you go. There are a couple of U.S. players we got our eyes on. The U.S. Player Watch is happening. A couple of players like a Brendan Aronson, like a Josh Sargent, they're hanging out, like a Haji Wright. They're hanging out in the championship. They seem to be doing well, Haji Wright and Josh Sargent. There are rumors that Josh Sargent was making his way to Bournemouth.
Well, they went for Ivan Nielsen instead.
Was that what happened? Okay. Mm-hmm. MLS and Premier League battling. So we'll see what Josh Sargent ends up. I don't think Josh Sargent going back to MLS is a great idea. I don't understand why we just want to stick it out in Norwich City and keep scoring and maybe promote next year. They got close to a promotion last year, so who knows? But yeah, it seems like you don't have a lot of thoughts. That's sort of my last thoughts on the American Hour.
I'm going to stay silent for talking about the U.S. men's national team. I'm going to leave that to you.
Because all I want to talk about is how great Greg was and how they failed Greg, and you missed your Greg.
That's preposterous. That is a preposterous accusation.
Well, you said last time we talked about it, you said, "Oh, it's going to get so much better with this new coach." You know, very much facetiously guarding Greg. Do you feel that Mauricio Pochettino, it will be better under him, or do you think, or do you stand by your opinion, where you think nothing's going to change?
I mean, my opinion. My opinion is the golden generation is not so golden, and
yeah, but that's everybody's opinion. Who labeled them a golden generation? Where are you getting this information from? This is the discourse. Everybody and their mother is talking about how this is not a golden generation. We all know this. So why was Greg so terrible? Why was this upset about Greg when we didn't blow away El Salvador 6-0 every game if the players aren't great? This generation is better than the last generation. They're not the golden generation, but there's a lot more quality on this squad. There's definitely less of a fight and a grit and a mentality, but isn't that on Greg? Is that part of the coach's building? Under Poch, they'll build a fiercer mentality, perhaps?
That's the beauty of this, right? We're going to see what happens. And you said yourself, it's now not going to, since we can't blame the coach, we're going to see what's going to happen.
There's more scrutiny on the players, for sure. And I'm very curious how it's going to go. I wish him all the best. Online, on the Twitter sphere, there's already posts about how Poch is overrated. We didn't want Poch, we wanted Tuchel, or we wanted this guy, or wanted that guy. Like, people literally crying because they got Poch instead of Tuchel. I'm just like, you guys are why people don't take social media criticism seriously. Like, this is the most ridiculous, nonsensical take I've ever heard in my life. And we should be lucky we got our hands on a guy like Poch. We were excited about Pellegrino Matarazzo a week ago, who I thought also would have been just fine. But yeah, the Poch era begins, and I, for one, am excited because the U.S. men's national team has never had a hip, top-level European coach who's like on the list to be the Manchester United first replacement. Like, he's on the list. He's one of Europe's elites. But he's going to coach the U.S. men's national team for 2 years at least. Rumors are maybe longer. Who knows? And I'm very excited to see this experiment. If it'll succeed or if it'll just be a lot of more of the same. We'll see. Lass uns sehen. But I, for one, am very excited about this new era. Do you have any last thoughts on MLS and U.S. soccer or anything like that, Bjorn, before we get out of here?
Nope.
Excellent. That's been the USA Hour, MLS Hour. We will see you all next week when MLS begins and the Bundesliga begins. We'll see the surprising scores. We'll see what happens. Is a Shaqiri-less Chicago a force to deal with? We will see this weekend on Apple TV. Tschüss.
Oh, by the